Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Uh, I'm a little more casual today than usual, but just be thankful that I showed this morning. Take No, I didn't even write that. I finally did post it, but I didn't say see you in a few. The jury was still out on that till about an hour ago. And then when I got here this morning, BJ made me laugh. I said, I appreciate you always reserving me a parking space. What did you say? At this season of my life, what did you have to fight for it today? He said, it was the way he said it. It was like an admission of guilt. He said, at this season of my life, I choose violence. uh, you know how when you haven't laughed in several days, it feels odd. You're like, what am I doing? Oh, it's laughter. It always reminds me of, I don't really do Color Purple anymore. It's at different times. But at the end of the movie, when Sophia's been, yeah, Sophia's been imprisoned all those years, and they're at the dinner table, and she's like, her eyes all messed up, and she's catatonic. And then all of a sudden she starts going, and it's like, and when the Adolf Caesar was the guy that played Mister's dad. He said, "Well, the dead has arisen," and she starts laughing again. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt this morning when BJ he admitted he had. I'm not going to do the prayer this morning. Y'all are blessed. Tell the person next to you I love you. Sorry, Michelle. I know you had it queued up, but I'm sitting down. Those of you who are logging on, I don't know. Watch this. Enter at your own risk. See if Joel Osteen's on. Go check him out. he may be, he may be more of a sure thing this morning. Everybody good? Good. No, seriously, I express gratitude for being here today. I'm glad to be alive. Glad that we're among people that we love that walk with us through the challenges. As the scripture says, two are better than one, for if one falls, the other will lift up his fellow. So we have more than two here. And there's just a blessing in this place. Everybody said, amen. Our outreach this month is Amnesty International, of course. So be aware of that. And also remember that we have Meditation Weekend number 25 coming up in April the 26th and 27th on Jekyll Island, Driftwood Beach. So thank you for being here this morning. Charles, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it today because I might not hold everybody too long. If that's okay. I feel like I'm throwing the tech team lots of curves this morning. So I just speak in this atmosphere and I say, let there be light. I'm going to just get into the word this morning. The Metron people, would you please tell the podcast people that we welcome them? Hello, podcast people. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Atlanta Theater. Hope everybody found a parking space without resorting to violence this morning. Jesus said, the violent take it by force. Yeah, I want to I want to share today, and really the only way I know how. I can only tell you what I'm experiencing and explain to you how Spirit is working through it, not because I'm self-absorbed, but because that's my only point of reference. I was told when I took pastoral counseling in college, never refer to yourself, and of course I violate that constantly. And it's not because I'm the center of my own universe, it's because I can only tell you this is what I learned through what I'm going through, and I hear on a regular basis people say even when you vent about something, I learn from it because I see how you're dealing with it. And throughout all my ministry, there have been different things I've gone through where I just thought I can't possibly go on and preach tonight. I can't. I got nothing to say. And I've always heard Spirit say to me, "Well, you have to. You have to get up and show people by example. This is how you get through stuff. This is how you deal with stuff." So, who was it? Somebody said that 90% of success is showing up. Just showing up. So I just showed up this morning, and Danny, I just noticed this ascot you're wearing. How cool is that? Danny wins the GQ award. That is too cool. How did I not notice that before? Now I'm completely distracted. Sorry, my my ADD kicked in. And as I was sharing with a couple of you a minute ago, Romans 11:29 says the gifts and callings of God. King James says they are without repentance, which means they're irrevocable. Y'all coming in? Hey, hello, hello, hello. Come in, come in, come in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And that's a good thing. I appreciate the gift. I also know that when there's something that never leaves you, you can tell it's going to be there whether you want it to be or not. I didn't even know what I was going to share today. I wasn't even sure. I actually considered canceling this morning, and then when I woke up, I don't know why this is the way Spirit speaks to me. Is usually when it's like it's like those of you that have dogs that you have to get up and that make you take them out in the morning. You know what it's like when you wake up and there's a dog staring at you, or when my kids were small, they'd be at the bed, so when you wake up, there's like a face, they wanting breakfast. That's the way Revelation is with me. Like this morning when I woke up, I start hearing the voice that I've heard my entire life speak. I mean, I just a few minutes ago drove by the church where I preached my first sermon. I was 13, and here I thought it's the year 2025, and I'm still doing this. And this morning, no disrespect to the Holy Spirit, but when I woke up this morning, I just wasn't in the mood to have revelation. And I start getting, it's like this is the way the voice speaks to me. It's like, have you ever thought about why so-and-so? And I'm like, no, not gift, not right now. I'm just like, Daddy's tired. And just be happy that I woke up this morning. And, then I can't stop thinking about it. And that's how I know that I'm called more than anything else, more than definitions of success, or it's the fact that voice keeps speaking to me. Reba, she has a new website that a guy's worked on, and so they reissued some of her albums from the 70s on CD. And so I bought them because they hadn't, they were remastered and they had photo booklets, and I wanted to support her. So I had to go buy a CD player. I didn't even have one, so I could buy these CDs of hers. And there's a line she does on one of her albums called "Dreamin'." It's called a dressing room sketch, and it's before she goes out for a concert, and she's telling God she can't do it. I can't do it tonight, and it's like God contending with her. You have to do it. And there's a lyric. I've told her this, but there's a lyric. She says. But somehow I keep remembering things I've tried hard forgetting, like words you place within my mouth you thought only I could say. That's anybody that's ever dealt with a gift. Chandra, you have a gift. You know what I'm talking about. When you just think, I don't have anything else. I got nothing else. And people have no idea what you've just been through behind the scenes, and then you have to go out and bring this energy. And the gift says, no, you there's a way that you say this, that you have to do it. And so when you're given a gift, it's, Jeremiah considered it a blessing and a curse. When he said, it's like fire shut up in my bones, he wasn't saying it in a positive way. He was saying, if I don't yield to this thing, it's going to consume me, so I have no choice. But he read Jeremiah chapter 20 sometimes. He sounds so bipolar, because like one minute he's saying, I'm so blessed to be a prophet, and the next minute he says, cursed be the man who brought news of my birth, and and I'm going to speak to Israel, but I hate that you called me to do this. And I mean, it sounds like he's unraveling when you read it. They call him the weeping prophet, and I think, well, that's pretty polite. He's more like the manic depressive prophet. But anyway, that's, having said that, y'all coming in. Having said that, I'm certainly grateful for the gift, and I don't take it for granted. And come in. So I'll get to the scripture I want to share with you in a minute, but let me just catch you up, sort of give you some context. Most of you know my mom's been in assisted living for a year. I've already shared this with you, but it's pertinent to what I'm going to share with you right now. When I put her in there, I knew Dad had left a certain amount of money that I could tap into to use for her care, which I have. And I don't know if y'all have noticed this about your own spending, but you got through money really, really fast. I listen to some of these rappers that made $50 million and they're bankrupt the next month. You think, how could it happen? I remember Hammer, back when he was at the top of the thing, they were interviewing him and they said, how did you go through $50 million? He said, listen, when you're traveling with an entourage of people that you're getting hotel rooms for, and all those guys travel in a posse, he said, you'd be surprised how quick you can go through $50 million. People think, well, if I had $50 million, I'd make it last. Maybe not. If you're not stretching what you make now, you might not. Anyway, bottom line is, I started sort of crunching the numbers, and I thought, well, if I'm going to keep her where she is, and it's, top of the line place, Doc's been there, she knows. I was listening to a podcast of a movie star talking about, he said, I can't believe what we were paying for my mother's assisted living. And I said, yeah, I can believe it. That's what I'm paying, and I'm not I'm not a movie star. But I started crunching the numbers, and I thought, well, I'm to a point now, I have to sell the house if I'm going to keep her there. And she's turning 87 this year. But her sister's 94. Her other sister lived in her 90s. So I'm thinking, if I sold the house, that would cover about 5 years' worth. But if she lives on into her 90s, I'm going to be out of money and no place to take her. I mean, I live in an 800 square foot loft. I mean, like, there's no way I can do that. So I came to the conclusion, I'm going to have to move her back home, and I've got to start staying there. And if I if I have to get some help to come in, I can do that. But, and I don't know if you've ever done one of those Scarlett O'Hara things where you said, as God is my witness, I'll never do this again. Well, when I moved in and took care of my dad at the end, and it was rough, I walked out of that saying, as God is my witness, I will not move in this house a second time and take care of a parent with dementia. I cannot. That took everything out of me. Can't do it again. Well, when there's no alternative, you're like, well, you're going to have to dig down and find some strength, because there's nobody, there's nobody else to do this. So gradually I've made peace with it. So what's been happening is I was trying to, I was using the end of this month, February, as this is the year mark. And so I'm using the end of this month, which is next Friday, as my deadline to get everything out. So I've been, the house has been vacant for a year, and houses, they're like living things. When you're not there all the time, that you can't believe how many. I mean, you have to maintain a house, and there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to get done before I moved her in there, because I thought if I do this when she's here, this is going to be a whole other thing and stressful, and me trying to explain it to her. So I just need to, and it's fine. I work well with deadlines, so like fine. Well, in the midst of all of this, while we were up in Helen, it was freezing, and Jared messaged me, so why don't I just turn the, because every time it would get really cold, I'd go and dribble the faucets, and he said, why don't I just turn the water off? I said, okay, fine. Because I'm having a bathtub installed for her. She didn't have a bath. She only had a shower, and she needs a bathtub. Most elderly people prefer a shower. She needs a bathtub. Don't ask. So I got that done. It was when I say stressful, I mean everything's stressful. You know what I mean? It was like there was a lot getting that done, but it got done, and I have a real respect for blue-collar workers, people that work really hard, and I really appreciate their skills. And I tip way too much. Like every time one of these guys finishes a job, I'm handing money out there like, I'm like, no, you worked hard. It was good. So all these guys that have worked hard doing all this stuff, I've made sure I compensated them and appreciated them. And but when we turned the water back on, I was not aware, it doesn't matter whose fault it was, I was not aware that a shower was running. So for about a week, a hot shower ran in the house, and it wasn't like a flooding situation. It was like the house was in a steam bath for a week, so it did some damage. Not as bad as I initially thought, but damage nonetheless. So I've been trying to deal with that while I'm still working on the deadline, because I'm trying to get her out, because in my head I'm thinking, I got to get her out by the end of February. They're going to charge me another month. They draft me on the 5th, and I've got to save that money. I may need it, to hire somebody to come in and help her in the mornings and that sort of thing. You know how it is. You're having to figure out your stuff constantly. And I think, this is how much money I've got. I've got to save that. Well, when this thing happened, it kind of threw me a curve, but I've been on top of it. I don't know if any of the rest of you have insurance with Allstate, but Allstate's very interesting. I know so many people through Allstate now, because the claims guy came out, spent a day with him. They sent out a mitigator because there was mold that came, so spent a day with him. Then they weren't sure they were going to believe the claim, so they had a leak specialist come out to make sure that these were not old leaks. So I spent a day with him, and let me say that in the midst of those days, there were blessings in disguise. Like the mold guy, he said, I need to check the attic to make sure this isn't coming from that. Well, the attic's fine. That's something I needed to know. He said, you don't have it. And then the leak guy, he crawled in some crawl space that's off the basement, which I wasn't going to crawl in there. And he said, I just want to show you, you've got some water collecting here in the corner, and you probably need to get one of those things that, Danny, you know what I'm talking about. It's the extension things, because the water's going in the corner. It needs to go out, so it runs down to the street, which I wouldn't have known that otherwise. So I thought, okay, well, that's a blessing. That these guys are giving me information that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So how you know how it is when you're in the middle of a stressful thing. There are good things that happen. You think, well, that's good. That's good to know, because I sure wouldn't have known to do that. So, I've been on top of it, but in the middle of everything, and I'm getting to my word in a minute, believe me. Some of you are like, I thought he said he had a word. I do. It's going to rock your world. It's going to change your life. You're going to be, oh my God, I know why you're my pastor. Once again, you're going to be amazed. I can't even take credit for it. The gift was there as soon as I was born. So in the last year, she and I went to an attorney over a year ago. we did all the legal stuff, so I have power of attorney. Part of the plan was, Mom, I don't want you to have to deal with any bills at all, because anybody that contacts her on her phone, if there's any money involved, she immediately catastrophizes it. And so I'm like, I don't want you to, it's just, I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with AT&T, with Allstate, with the gas company, all these people that I've said, my mother's in assisted living. I'm her power of attorney. Please do not contact her about stuff. Contact me, because if you contact her, I'm not sure I'll get the information. What else do you do when people say, we got it? We've taken her phone number off the thing. We've taken it and then somehow they send a carrier pigeon over to say, we know we've cut off every possible mode of communication, but we want to tell you this one more thing to freak out over. I mean, to where it's fun. It's happened so many times, it's just become funny. I'm like, how the heck do they keep getting? The last time I took her to AT&T, I just sat her down and I said, what do I have to do? How much do I have to pay you to get you to stop sending her notifications? Send them to me. Here's my I'm going to get power of attorney, tattooed on my head. Like, don't freak her out with this stuff. Got it. Next day, they're like, where's it coming from? So with Allstate, I'm not exaggerating. This week, I've gotten 6 letters from them, 2 of which says, we're sorry to hear that you canceled your claim, which I did not. 3 of which said, we're working on your claim, and here's some glitches in your, like, these 3 paragraphs, this is why we cannot cover this. 2 of which said, please let us know what you would like to do with move. So, which is the thing? I mean, these 2 are saying, and when I call them, they say, well, that one's been canceled. I said, I didn't cancel anything. Mom, did Allstate call you cancel? No, I don't think so. Okay. So it's just like crazy world. Every time I go to my mailbox, there's 4 or 5 more letters, and they all say something different. And then they say, well, go to myclaim.com. I'm like, baby, I've tried every possible way to log into this thing. Do y'all know anybody that could give me this information? So, long story short, the mitigator guy, are y'all still with me in this story? The mitigator guy, he said, you don't have to do this, but he said, if you want, Allstate recommended them. He said, if you want to go and sign the contract, I can bring these dehumidifiers in now and start them. I said, that sounds great. 3 humongous dehumidifiers that made a difference. I mean, because it was, water stinks up the place immediately. And it doesn't smell bad now. They've been running for 2 weeks. They weren't supposed to, but I thought, well, they're here. I keep running them. So if there ain't anything else, the house is dry. And so that was a blessing. But they even called me this week, and they said, we keep contacting Allstate to see if they're going to cover this. And I said, good luck with that. I don't know which is the – so that's a whole thing. And in the midst of it, Mom calls yesterday and says, Allstate contacted me. And it's this long message. I said, Mom, can you forward it to me? No, of course not. I said, let me drive over there and look. I get over there, she can't find it. So I don't know if part of Parkinson's is delusion. So I don't know if she was imagining that or not. But what I came to terms with, because Allstate has a $5,000 deductible that I don't need to pay right now. I thought, really, now that these dehumidifiers have run in here for 2 weeks, the only thing I need to do, I just need to have this places repainted. Because initially I thought sheetrock was going to have to be ripped out, and it doesn't. And it's where the damage is, it's a really high stairwell. I don't know how many feet it is, but it's all the wall. The bathroom was upstairs in a corner, so the water went out over the staircase, and that wall and that ceiling is just is a mess, and the ceiling and the floor beneath, which is the family room, it's a mess. And basically, at this point, it just needs to be repainted. And I was talking to my boys about this. Well, we could do that. I said, no, I appreciate it, but this is really, really high. I mean, this has got to be a professional painter that's got scaffolding that can get up there, because you've got to, what do you call it? Trim it in. And they said, we could do it with it. I said, no, y'all don't realize it's got to be treated for mold. They've got to put kills over it. I've got to have a professional painter. But I think I could find somebody to paint this for less than $5,000. So that would save, so I'm just going to go that route. It's fine. I'm closing out Allstate. I went ahead and called them Friday. I called them one more time from when she was there. They had left a message, and I called them. I said, I don't know how many more times to tell you all this. Please contact me. And the thing says, we will call you by 5 o'clock, and it's 11:37 on Sunday. They still haven't called, so what ifs. But I'm like, okay, we're done with forget Allstate. I'm just going to move her in, and I'll get a painter whenever I get a painter. But while I was there Friday, I went to the main office, because I had already talked to them about, I think I'm going to move her out, but I wasn't sure. And then when this thing happened, I called and said, don't put her stuff on the street yet, because I don't know how long this repair thing is going to take. But I thought, when I realized I wasn't going to go the route of insurance, I'll just get a painter. Which, by the way, if any of you know of a painter, I'm looking for one. I mean, a professional painter. I went and talked to the director, and he said, well, you have to, in your lease, it says you have to give a 30-day written. I was not aware of that. He said, you can write it right now. So I had to write. I said, so y'all are gonna bill me again, right? He said, yeah, on the 5th. So, in one way, it was like, good God, really? And then I thought, well, my deadline of next Friday's lifted. And he said, if you want to get her out before then and we can occupy her unit, then we'll prorate and, write you a return check. So I'm like, okay, fine. At first I was real upset about it, and then the more I thought about it, I thought, it's actually gives me a few more days. I can just go ahead and get this painting done before I move her in. Now, here's the part that's the word. And meanwhile, but I'm leaving out so much stuff. Like this week, every day I go over there, and there's a list of things that I do. And part of it was I'm still dismantling my dad's office. My dad's been dead half a decade, but we still haven't done the office, because when Jared was living there, I didn't know he was sentimental about it, and he was living up there, and so we kind of had a thing about it, so I just left it. So Wednesday night, a week ago, I said, Jared, I'm going to finish dismantling Dad's office. Are you okay with that? He said, yeah, I'll come help you do it. I said, no, you don't have to do that. I just need to make sure. Is there anything else that you want? No. Okay, fine. So I called Goodwill, and I'm going to give them his desk, which weighs a ton, and his filing cabinet. I still haven't even gotten to the credenza. The credenza's like, how when you're in the middle of a project, it's like, I work until suddenly my body says, yep, and you're done. There was a time I would just push through. You get to a certain age where your body's like, no, you think you're going to work a little bit longer, but you're not now. And so that's been my MO for weeks now. It's like, I go over there and work until the battery runs out, and then I just go sit in my chair. I came home one day, I was so tired. I just turned the blinds down. I had the TV on. I pulled the blinds down. I was watching something boring on TV, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, the TV had cut off, and it was pitch black in there. And I didn't know where I was. It was just like, because I was so fatigued. Like, I woke up, and I was like, did I die? I wasn't even that upset about dying. I just had to think for a minute. Is this it? I mean, I'm not exaggerating. For a minute, I was like, Where's the bright light? I don't see. I thought I was supposed to go towards the light. I just see darkness. And I don't even know why the TV turned off, but it did, and it was anyway. So I didn't realize this when you donate stuff. I've donated stuff to Goodwill before. I didn't remember having to pay a fee for it. It was expensive. Oh yeah. It's because they come get it, and when it's upstairs and when it's heavy stuff, you pay. And it was, yeah. So I'm thinking they got to. I'm visualizing a crew of men to come get this desk that weighs a ton, and it's a skinny little guy and kind of a big girl. And I don't mean this in a sexist way. I'm just saying I was expecting big burly dudes and, cute little skinny guy and sweet big girl. But I'm like, y'all know we're bringing a desk down the steps, right? And he said, yeah, we got it. He said, we may need you to help us a little bit. Okay. So just getting it out of the office was, I was thinking, I've made a terrible mistake. I should have just left this. But it's on now. So he says, because the steps are carpeted, he said, we could just slide it down the steps. Like, okay. So we get behind. She's up there on that end, and I'm with Skinny over here. And, I see this desk coming, and I'm thinking, I've made a terrible mistake. This is bad. I thought I died in the recliner, but this is going to be it. This will be it. Like, I'm literally thinking, how will I explain to my kids and her, this is where it ended for me. So, so the desk starts coming, and I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. And all of a sudden, it's just like crushing me into the wall. And I mean, seriously, it's like I said, oh my God, I'm good. Don't take a picture of this, BJ. I'm like, oh my God, you're crushing me. You're crushing me. You're crushing me. I mean, seriously, I couldn't even breathe. And I thought, she can't even pull this. Somehow we got through it. And I asked them, I said, I can't believe I have to pay this much just for y'all to pick this up. And she said, I know, that's the way it is. I'm like, okay. I mean, it was all now. Yeah. I got a tax receipt, but, yeah, I got that. And I've donated stuff before. I didn't remember having to pay for it. But anyway, it was on then, it's like, I got to get this done. So here's the point of what I want to share with you today. The timing of that is always funny. When I moved out of that house, I left with a lot of, really negative memories. And a geographical location can take on a lot of energy. And, for the last several years, every time I would drive up there, I would just feel oppressed. Like, I just hate this place. I want to get rid of this place. This place, where you've had a lot of drama in lots of places, like everywhere I look. Like I went through I hope you don't think I'm dishonoring my father when I talk about this, but he would leave the house a lot. And when he didn't know where he was, and he was wanting to go home. And I can't tell you the nights I'd be out on a street trying to get him back in. He doesn't know who I am, and he's trying to hit me with a cane, and I'm trying to keep him from walking in front of a truck. I mean, it's traumatic. It's traumatic on so many levels, because I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I knock him out? I'm trying to keep him from walking in front of this truck on Stone Mountain, Lilburn Avenue. That's a major thoroughfare. So, for the last 5 years, every time I turn that corner, I visualize. I try not to try to practice what I preach. Like, get a new thought. I'm like, well, there's that old one still there. But because I've had to be there so much, especially when those different guys were there during the day, they take a million pictures. And all that. So I'm there for hours. And there's something about being forced to be in a place that you don't want to be in. If you manage it correctly, it can actually start to heal you. It's like applying snake venom to the snake bite. Do you understand? And like one day I was there was nothing else I could do in the house. I was just waiting for the claims guy to do all of his, they've got meters where they check the moisture in the wall, and it takes forever. So I'm sitting out there in the chair that my dad used to sit in, and I thought, this house is great, and it's paid for, and I should just embrace this house. I should just live here. And I kind of made peace with it. I even said out loud, because my dad's ashes are, they're up there in his office. And I checked on them yesterday. They're still there. Sometimes I go in there and open the door like, you have to come get her. I don't know what else to do. Please help me. And he's not answering. But I don't do that every day, but there's been a few days I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. Please come help me. A box of ashes just not really talkative. But I know his energy's there, and so I just started talking to him. I said, Dad, this place is great, and I know, part of the reason you bought this is because of me, because, they had a house on my property in Covington, and when I wasn't living there anymore, it was too weird for them to still live there. So, it's partly, I don't want to say my fault, but partly because of me that they had to buy that house. And I said, I know you really took a lot of pride in this place, and it's great. Just thank you for getting this house, and it's great, and I'm going to live here, and I'm going to make some changes to it, but I'm going to live here. And I immediately started feeling that energy change. And then when I was telling Ken about it, this is why you have to get a different picture of a thing. We were talking about it, and he said, I think we should totally live there. And he was brainstorming about, he said, after your mom goes, we can knock out this wall, and you could modernize the kitchen, and you could put an island here. And he said, we could cook out in the backyard and not have to eat out all the time. And so I just felt this elephant get off my chest, just because I was associating it with different energy. Suddenly, instead of it being, God, I hate this place, and I'm about to have to go back in here and do this again, to, this is great. I've got this, this house is awesome. And I told, LaDonna is across, kind of a catty corner across the street, taking care of her parents. And I said, if I start staying there with Mom, you're going to have to walk with me in the mornings. So she agreed. So that was fun. I mean, I'm just doing everything I can to get a different picture of the thing. And, but it's still been difficult. And this is and I'm still, tired's not even the word for it. There's a kind of tired that you can get a good night's sleep and you're tired. And then there's another kind of tired that all the sleep in the world doesn't fix. Because it's been over a decade of taking care of parents. And caretaking is a lot. It just is. And even, like Ken has a brother, but he took care of his parents mostly. So just because you have siblings doesn't mean they're going to be involved. But psychologically, it feels like there's at least somebody else. When there truly is nobody else, and you just have to,
put on your big boy pants and say, well, I got to do it. But I've psychologically worked through a lot of it. And here's where the word comes in. Years ago when we were at Landmark, I did a series out of Matthew 12. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and they said, give us a sign. And he says, I'm not going to give you any sign other than the sign of Jonah. I don't know if you remember that teaching. But he says, and maybe this is one reason it came to mind. This week on the news, there was, I don't know if you saw this video, there were these guys out kayaking, and a whale actually came up and swallowed a guy, spit him right out, because a whale can't actually swallow something that big, but you can get in their mouth. And he literally comes up, swallows him, spits him out. It was on lots of news. If you Google it on YouTube, you can find it. But in that teaching, in that passage, he says, for as Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days, so will the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth for 3 days. So when he says, I'm not going to give you any other sign than the sign of Jonah, what that teaching was about, y'all know the story, how that God had called Jonah to preach to Nineveh, and he didn't want to do it, so he gets on this boat, and he's running from the mandate of God, and a storm comes up, and the way the people believed at that time, if there's a storm, somebody in this boat's being punished. Who is it? And so Jonah says, it's me. So they throw him overboard, and a fish or a whale, whatever, swallow. It doesn't matter to me if this literally happened or if it's a metaphor. The truth of it is the same. And so the fish swallows him, and he's in the belly of the beast for 3 days. And the point of the story is the fish actually takes him to Nineveh, actually takes him to his destiny, and, vomits him up. And so the point of the teaching was, if you were on the boat and people saw you swallowed up, you think, well, that's the end of him. He's gone. But he actually not only lived, the hardship took him to his destiny. And I said, nasty as it was, I said, you may be covered in fish vomit, but you get to where you're supposed to be. And the fish actually saved his life. If he had just been thrown into the ocean, he would have drowned. So the thing that you think is going to kill you, and I'm telling you, when that desk was, I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't breathe. It was crushing me, and I was like, y'all crushing me. You think the thing that's going to kill you is going to kill you, but it doesn't. It doesn't make it easy. 3 days in the fish's belly is nasty. I've been deep sea fishing before, and when you take your fish in to have them processed, it's the worst smell I've ever smelled anywhere. It's like, the last time I went in, because I took my boys deep sea fishing. I saw these people. I'm trying not to gag. I thought, how do these people work in this? It's an unbelievable stench. So the thing is, the thing that saves you is still difficult. And it has nothing to do with the usual platitudes. Like if Jonah's in the belly of the fish and you say, well, Jonah, you just need to practice gratitude. Well, okay, just shut up. It's like, this has nothing to do with gratitude. This has nothing to do with hearing that somebody else's situation could be worse. When you're in the fish's belly and it's totally pitch black dark and you assume you're done for, it's difficult to feel positive about it. If you say, Jonah, hang in there. The sun will come out tomorrow. I think this is the end of me. So this morning when I woke up, the first thing that the voice said to me is, why did Jesus say, as Jonah was in the belly of the fish, so will the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth. Now, I've taught about this for years. That's a way, like people who know me and communicate with me regularly know that's code for, like if somebody messages me and says, are you okay? Sometimes I will say, I'm in the heart of the earth, but I'll be back. I'll be back in 3 days. So that's my way of saying, I'm in a difficult situation. There's nothing that I could tell you about it. Like I did write a meditation, and some of y'all wrote beautiful things on it. And then I just took it down because it was like, good God, shut up. I deleted it. But I posted a picture while I was writing. I just took a picture while writing, and Howie messaged me from New Zealand, where he is, and he said, I just looked at your eyes in that picture. He said, if you need to talk, call me. And I just said, I'm good. You already know. But like, when you're at that place, like there was a Designing Women episode where somebody said to Julia Sugarbaker, oh, I didn't know you were upset about it. And she says, well, just look at my face. And that's kind of like I didn't have to write a meditation. I just took a picture. It was like, this is, while I was having a glass of wine, Jesus, over here at Murder Kroger, because Proverbs says, give wine to him who is of a heavy heart, and my heart was as heavy as my dad's desk that day. I said, kudos to all of you in recovery. I'm not trying to make it difficult for you, but I'm going to drink this glass of Malbec. You heard? And if all I have is water, I'd say, Jesus, you got to turn it into something. Because Daddy needs a little something, something. Where's that man that turned the water into wine? Come on, that's what we need. So, so I was thinking about, why did he say the heart of the earth? And because I've taught on this before, and I've even taught the way I've taught it before, and I'm not abandoning this. So like everything I've ever, do you understand? Everything I've ever taught is still true. It's just sometimes I get more light on it. And so I have taught, like, what Jesus, he actually said, the Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost. Not those who were lost, but that which was lost. Come on back in. And so the analogy I've said is that Jesus went into the heart of the earth to do heart surgery. I mean, it's like he went to fix what needed to be fixed in the earth. And I still believe that. I mean, the difference between me and the other people that would identify as Christian universalists, I don't believe Jesus was just one of the guys. Like when somebody says Buddha and Jesus and they all had the Christ, I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but I do and I know all that stuff about Mithra and Dionysus and all. I know all of those stories. You know what I'm talking about. There was other mythology where they had virgin births and 12 disciples and a Last Supper, even a resurrection. I get that. I'm not fundamentalist, but I do think there's something about Jesus. I don't think if you don't believe him, you're going to go to hell. But there's something about Jesus that's just different, and that's why I still believe in a literal virgin birth and a literal resurrection. No matter how out there I am theologically, I feel very moored by those. I don't think Jesus was white, but I think he literally resurrected from the dead. So, and y'all all know that. I'm just saying this for a matter of context. But I was thinking about, and I looked it up in every translation I could think of this morning, just quickly, and every one of them says heart. And I thought, well, some of the more modern translations will say the center of the earth or the secret, but every one of them literally says heart. I haven't looked at the Greek yet, but just getting ready this morning, I was looking at it, I thought, every unanimously says the earth has a heart, which means it's alive. The fish that swallowed Jonah was alive. I was watching. I watch a lot of old movies. I was watching one the other night, and all these people in this movie were dancing, and there was like incredible talent. I'm think just from a production standpoint. I think how many hours did it take for them to learn these? Who were the twins, African American twin guys the Nicholas brothers? Have you ever seen that thing where they dance down that staircase and they end in a split, and it was just perfection? And you look at that and you think, how many hours did it take to learn? I'm taken with all of that. But I look at some of these old movies and I think every one of these people, every one of them, all gone, been gone for years. They came and they did their thing. Like I've told you, life is like a Soul Train line. You just have your little minute, your little minute in the sun, and then it's over. Whatever you're going to do, you got to do it now because there's another couple behind you, I mean, I really think it's a metaphor for life. You just have a minute to make a mark. And so I look at that, and it at one point it makes me sad, and at another point it puts stuff in perspective. I even last night, I was just looking at some old stuff, and I was looking at some Mary Tyler Moore Show episodes. And I thought, everybody on this cast is dead. Yeah, every one of them. Betty White made it nearly to 100. She was the last one. She outlived everybody on the Golden Girls and Mary Tyler Moore. But she finally went. And what it says to me, and this is what maybe this is just a word to me, but I'm going to share it with you. The fish was alive. The fish continued to live. The earth has a heart. The earth will continue to live. And what it says to me is that you have to keep everything that happens to you in perspective. Paul said, we know that this light affliction works in us a far more exceeding greater weight of glory. And the fact that the earth has a heart says to me, whatever I'm going through is temporal. I mean, it's temporal just because my existence in this dimension is temporal. When you're in the middle of a thing, because I finally had to say, while I was talking to my dad, I also said out loud, I thought, I need to say this. If my mother lives to be 100 or so, so be it. I'll deal with it, I'll handle it, and God will give me the grace. I needed to say that. Because, a while back, I told you this. I called her one night, and she said, what do you think of when you think of Caleb? I said, Caleb in the Bible? Yeah. Well, I don't know. He's one of the 2 spies that went into Israel. She said, what else? I said, I don't know, Mom. What? This is a trick question. I'm like, well, what else about Caleb? She said, well, when he was 85 or 86, he prayed, and God gave him another 40 years. And when she said it, I was like, don't take a picture, BJ. I bind you. In Jesus' name. But I did say, I said, well, Mom, if we're going to do Caleb was known for giving a good report. So if that's the thing, we got to start getting positive about things. But I needed to say that. Stop wishing this situation was different. Eventually, the fish was alive. The earth has a heart. This light affliction, this thing you're going through, you've got to put it in the perspective that life goes on. I mean, for some of us, and maybe not everybody listening to me feels this way, some of us feel like America as we know it is over. But there have been other regimes around the earth for years that lasted for a while, and some were worse than others, and then it was over and life went on. You have to put everything in perspective, because this is what it says to me. If the earth has a heart, then nothing is the end of the world. The very fact that he says the Son of Man has to go in the heart of the earth means the earth is a living thing. And furthermore, because I'm not fundamentalist about creation. I think, when Moses wrote Genesis 1, he was speaking poetically. I don't think that's scientific. The earth, if not billions of years, is at least millions of years old. But the earth's going to survive us all. You say, with fuel emissions, we're going to kill the earth. No, you're not. Well, that's what I even saw just looking at my mom. I mean, it's like I've been over there. Jared stayed there some. But just the house being vacant for a year, I think, boy, nature starts claiming something back. Like you're fighting with nature all the time. I see these dead bugs everywhere, and I know I paid Orkin or whatever we got, but I'm like, boy, they're out there. If you don't stay on top of them, you come in, cockroaches will be like, this is our house now. So the earth, nature is constantly trying to reclaim anything you think, we're going to destroy it. No, you're not. The earth was here a long time before people were here. I mean, it could be here a long time after. I've shared this with you before, but I was watching a documentary about 9/11, and it was made a few months before the thing that happened on 9/11, 2001. And they were interviewing the guy who was like the caretaker of the whole buildings. And he was explaining, because those buildings are built very different than traditional architecture, because instead of there being an internal spine, everything was built like suspension. It was like an exoskeleton. And so they were interviewing the guy, and he said, let me put it to you this way. He said, there's no way these buildings could ever fall. There's no way. He said, I'll say it this way. When there is no more humanity, these two buildings will be standing here because they're infallible. And as he's saying it, there's a crawl across that says, he died on September 11th, 2001. I mean, those buildings didn't just fall. They fell in a matter of minutes. When they launched the Titanic, they said, this ship cannot sink. There are 6 flotation cavities on this, and it could survive with just one of them. Well, guess what? They were all damaged. That thing was on the bottom of the Atlantic on its maiden voyage. Last week, I was walking up Peachtree Street. It's called the Ellis now, but there's a hotel that was built years ago, and back when hotel fires was a big deal. And back then it was called the Weinkauf Hotel. It was right there, cat-a-corner from Ritz-Carlton. And they said, this is the hotel that can't burn. Worst hotel fire in history. Happened in 1946. And it's not that I think God's doing that. I'm just saying life goes on. That's why sometimes when you're in the middle of a thing where you think this is gonna kill me, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no hope for this thing. Guess what? You'll be gone. Everybody you know will be gone, and people will still be moving on, doing their thing. That's why sometimes you think, if something's going to risk my life, maybe I don't have to do it. Somebody says, "Oh, we got to go to this thing." Maybe not, because guess what? That thing will go on without you. I listen to every week. Dana Carvey and David Spade do a podcast about behind the scenes on Saturday Night Live, and I listen to it every Wednesday. I listen to it, and then they do another one on Friday called Superfly. It's called Fly on the Wall, because I'm interested in that. I listen to that. So for the last over a year, Dana Carvey has talked about the 50th anniversary of SNL. Everybody they've interviewed on there that's been, he said, "We'll see you at the 50th." Well, I watched it. I watched every minute of it last Sunday night, and I kept thinking, "Where's Dana Carvey? Well, he had the flu. He wasn't even there." Guess what? It went on. The most I saw it, because I even Googled it. Why wasn't Dana Carvey there? In hundreds of articles, somebody said Dana Carvey was sick. Anyway, like they went on. When you think you won't be there, the thing will end. No, what? It still went on. Everything will still go on. You say, "Well, it makes me feel insignificant." No, it should make you feel free. To say the earth has a heart and it's going to keep beating, and if I'm in the darkness, I'll come back into the light. And it doesn't mean, like, this is where I'm at on this whole thing with dealing with taking care of my mom. I don't want to, I've talked about it again, but I don't feel like I'm venting today. I feel like I'm telling you, this is what's going on. Let me explain to you how I'm working out my salvation in this. But I don't want to complain about it anymore, because I've already made, I said it to you a couple of weeks ago. I said, don't let me vent about this anymore. And Avery said, "Well, you can talk." I said, "No, it's just like, it's counterproductive at this point. Why am I still saying it? You believe I'm a good son, right? Yes. You believe I'm taking care of things. Yeah. Then what's my point? What's the point of even complaining about it? Because it just is what it is. And many of you have taken care of elderly, but you take care of your mother in your own home. Many of you have been there. So, some of them weren't as, high impact. Some of the things we went through with my dad, I asked Ken, I said, "Did you go through this with your mom?" He said, "No, I've never seen anything like this." Because his mom was like a sweet country lady. So when she got Alzheimer's, they could put her to bed 8 o'clock at night. They didn't hear a peep out of her. Not Brother Swilley. He had a serious case of sundowners. And when that sun went down, it was a whole other thing. And, he fought till the end and was strong. He was strong. Because I thought Ken was going to say, "Yeah, it comes with the territory." He's like, "Nope, I never saw anything like this." It was like, "Yeah, you're not helping." Ken's dad had leukemia and his mother had Alzheimer's. I said, "Which was harder?" He said, "Oh, Alzheimer's, definitely." He said, "With my dad, I could at least communicate with what was going on." He said, "But that's a whole..." And people that have been through it, it's like, well, it is what it is. And I'm being really real right now, but y'all are my peeps. I'd be lying if I didn't say sometimes I have to put down the voice that says, "It's happened to both your parents. It's going to happen to you too," when you're in the middle of it. And that's why I'm so happy when I don't lose my train of thought. I'm so happy. I'm like, yes! It's going to skip my generation and be gone completely. We're going to get past it. There's going to be a cure for it. But in the meantime, whatever you're going through today, because I guarantee you I could put anybody in this seat and you could tell what you've got stuff. You've got a husband in dialysis. You've got family situations. All God's children got stuff, right? And sometimes you're in the middle of it and you think, there's no end to it. Yeah, there is. Huey Lewis and the News used to sing a song in the 80s. The heart of rock and roll is still beating. The heart of the earth is still beating. And so instead of just being in conflict mode all the time, you have to figure out how to surrender and just say, my 3 days in the heart of the earth may be different from somebody else's. But when the Pharisees asked Jesus, give us a sign, he said, the only sign I'm going to give you is the sign of Jonah. Jonah survived the fish. Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. So here's the most important thing I'm going to say to you today. And I've forgotten it. See? The thing I feared came upon me. No, the point is, oh, yes, here it is. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus says the only sign you're going to get is the sign of Jonah. You may think, if I could just see some supernatural thing, if an angel would appear to me and tell me what to do. I mean, Ken's on call this week. I told him the night before last, I said, I know you're sick of hearing about this. I just don't know what to do. This is before I found out she's going to be in there another 30 days, one way or the other. I was still working on this deadline. I said, I wish I had a pastor. I wish I had a pastor I could just call and ask, what do I do about it? Because I just don't know. And Kid's response is, dang. Well, I think that's about all you have to say. Good night. But here's where my hope is today, and I want this to give you hope. Jesus says, I will give you no other sign than the sign of Jonah. Do you know the most supernatural sign that you're ever going to see is the fact that you have already survived so many things? That's the sign of Jonah. I may be vomited up on the beach and I need a shower. Do you hear what I'm saying? They said, give us a sign. He said, the only one I'm going to give you is the sign of Jonah. As Jonah was in the belly of the fish, the Son of Man will be in the heart of the earth. That's why you have to remember, through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. The fact that you've survived so much stuff already, and so have I. If I say, God, give me a sign, he says, I will give you no other sign than the sign of Jonah. You will be in the heart of the earth for 3 days, but you will survive it like you survived every other time, whether it was the belly of the fish or the lion's den or the fiery furnace. The Old Testament's full of all that same metaphor over and over again. You know, when the 3 Hebrew children were in the fiery furnace, the only thing that burned was the ropes. It actually set them free. Do you know what the supernatural sign is? You're the supernatural sign. Because you've already, like, Bishop is all God. Yeah, I know. God's fine. It's the fact that you got through it. I need a sign. I will give you no other sign than the sign of Jonah. When the thing swallows you up and you think, well, that's it. I'm dead. When we finally got that desk out on the front porch, I said, do you have a dolly? He said, yeah. He said, we got it from here. And I watched them struggle with that thing that weighed a ton. I just felt like I was reborn. I thought, boy, I thought I died on that staircase. And I've lived to fight another day. I thought, I'm going to die here with these people. I don't even know their names. They don't even know who to call. Yeah, wouldn't that be the ultimate irony? He finally killed me. I knew he'd do it eventually. There's a note in the desk. I told you to stop talking about me. Who's laughing now? The funny thing is, my dad would actually think that's very funny. Do you hear what I'm saying? You may be in the heart of the earth today. Those of you watching, you may be in the heart of the earth today. The heart of rock and roll is still beating. The earth will go on. Your situation is not the end of the world. And the only sign, the same God that delivered me from the paw of the bear and the lion will deliver me from this Philistine. You have to remember your testimony. How many times you've come through stuff. That's why every time I've seen you do that 2 or 3 times in concert where you let your band members say something and you say testify in the song. That's what, if I told you where the word testify comes from, you'd think I was just being R-rated. But it was when a man would actually swear on his, that's where it came from. Because he's saying, by my ability to produce life and continue on, that was the highest you could swear by. That's why it's called testify. And that's the way it was in ancient times. That's how you didn't put your hand on the Bible. You put your hand there and said, I swear. Because you're basically saying, I swear on my children and my grandchildren. It's true. Shut up, BJ. Look it up. I'm not just making up stuff. That's true. That's why, that's what you swore on. That's why that word sounds very similar. You'll never think of it the same way again. Like, well, Bishop, you ruined testimony night for me. Like, well, hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what it meant. And even in that sense, it kind of bears out what I'm saying. Talking about future generations, they will continue. I want things to go well for my kids, but that my kids will have a life after I'm no longer there. I've got to try to make an impact while I can and leave a legacy, but I'm not having any more kids. I mean, that's what I got, and they're doing their thing in their way. And there's a kind of symmetry that comes with, I will not be here forever, and it's okay. It's okay. The earth, I find peace in knowing that the earth will continue. And I'll be somewhere, I'll be somewhere in the universe. But life as we know it here, it's temporary. David said, the grass withers, the flower fades. But the steadfast love of the Lord never, it's eternal. Your situation is not forever. And the supernatural sign that you're going to get through this is that you've gotten through so much stuff before. Let's all stand. Did you get anything out of this? What did you say? You said confirmation? Who's your pastor? Who's your daddy? Come on now. let's at least play the outro. Miss y'all, since I've given you nothing to do today.
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. You can give anytime using any smartphone. Text the amount you would like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishopthenow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you have a check, make it to JESM. If you have cash, just pay it forward. I speak the sign of Jonah over you, that you, even as I stir up your pure mind today, you remember the things you've already survived. Difficult as they were, smelly as they were, terrifying as they were, you made it to Nineveh. You came out of the grave on the third day. You need no external sign from this point on. You are your own sign. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, and you can do all things through Christ. I speak that knowledge to you, and I just pray for the strength to get through today. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Give no thought for tomorrow, Jesus said. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. But your situation is temporal. This light affliction works in you a far more exceeding greater weight of glory. You have a blessed, relaxing day, and you wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad in it. God bless you. Go in peace. Thanks for coming.